The sad passing of our great monarch, Queen Elizabeth II, has been met with cynicism and vitriol from academics, TV hosts and politicians from across the pond. Those in the United States with a political axe to grind and with division to sow are linking our iconic late Queen with Britain's colonial past, conveniently glossing over the fact that we have a constitutional monarchy in which the wearer of the crown wields no political power. They conveniently forget that Britain campaigned at huge economic and strategic cost to bring about the end of slavery decades before our friends in America did. And don't forget that post-war, we divested what remained of the British Empire and formed a community of nations that continues to this day, namely the Commonwealth, of which Elizabeth was head for 7 decades. There aren't too many imperial empires in history that formed a family of nations when they ended. But that is the British way. But there's more. There is so much that the Americans have forgotten. Meanwhile, they effectively had apartheid right up until the 1960s, before the civil rights movement changed that country for the better. People in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. And Britain-hating woke commentators stateside are guilty of eye-watering hypocrisy, given America's disastrous record on race relations, which continues to this day. America, we are not. Even the New York Times have been at it, peddling the empire narrative for clicks and complaining that, wait for it, the Queen's funeral will be paid for by taxpayers. Grasping at straws there, aren't we, fellas? Obviously, US presidents' funerals are also paid for by, you guessed it, US taxpayers. Those pesky facts, eh? Legendary US-based British historian Simon Sharma has called out this non-story. He tweeted, the Queen's funeral will be paid for by British taxpayers. This so-called news is kind of pathetic. Take a poll, why don't you, and see how many are up in arms about it. Meanwhile, US magazine The Cut, to which Meghan Markle has just given a major interview, has launched an extraordinary assault on King Charles III, calling him a big, fussy baby and a jerk. They've got previous, of course. Shortly after the Queen's death, they published an article titled, I Won't Cry Over the Death of a Violent Oppressor. The piece was an interview with linguistics professor Uju Anya, and she's got quite a way with words. She tweeted this on Thursday. The chief monarch of a thieving, raping, genocidal empire is finally dying. May her pain be excruciating. Anya also told The Cut magazine that the Queen was a representative of the cult of white womanhood. What's that when it's at home? Whatever happened to, if you haven't got something nice to say nothing at all. Now, you obviously can say what you like. I am the king of free speech. Nothing is sacred in my book. But it's also my view that these comments about the Queen are part of an agenda to attack the values and traditions of the free world by self-loathing members of the political, corporate, academic and media elite. We've got a few here too. Now, I don't judge all Americans for this Anglophobia. It is the exclusive domain of hard-left ideologues who hate their own country and hate Britain too. Amid the outpouring of grief and respect we've seen from most Americans and from nations all over the world, these bitter, vindictive commentators, these crank yanks, as I like to call them, they hate everything. They hate free speech. They hate democracy and they hate Western values. It's my view that they never want communities to come together and that division for them is an industry. Almost 200 presidents and prime ministers will be present at the Queen's funeral on Monday, demonstrating not just the huge affection for the British monarchy, but huge affection for Britain itself. This country is a global beacon of diversity, creativity, diplomacy and enterprise. And our constitutional monarchy is a key part of that success. As you'll see on Monday, most of the world gets it. The crank Yanks don't, probably because they're consumed with jealousy for what we've got. And our monarchy is nothing to be ashamed of. It is, in fact, our greatest treasure. So ignore the minority of haters in America and elsewhere. It's abundantly clear that the world loved the Queen just as much as we did.